Juan Mendez Scott's #1 fan. Chapter 15, Kim. When Drew drove down Monterey Circle in Fort Washington, where Sidney and his wife lived, I told her to circle around the cul-de-sac so that we would be facing West Tantalon Drive. That way, we could easily drive off after I did what I had to do. I had her park a couple of houses down from Sidney's huge house. I had never seen his house before. It was gorgeous, and I couldn't wait to move into it after Debbie was out of the way. Sitting on the passenger side, dressed as the #1 fan, I prayed that if someone saw me, they wouldn't remember my tag number. Drew kept looking around the neighborhood to make sure we weren't being watched. We were both silent, nervous out of our minds. "It's dark as shit around here," Drew said, her eyes wide and alert. "Which is good for me," I replied, glancing around. "That's why I wanted to come much later, to make sure she's home." "I know. If she's not home, you can get her when she pulls up. I just hope there are no alarms when you go in." I thought about that too. Maybe we should knock first. "It's not like she's going to open the door, Kim," Drew said, disappointed that I wasn't using my head. "The minute she looks through the peephole, she'll recognize you as the crazy fan." "Yeah, I'm just going to go in," I said, opening the door and looking back at Drew, scared and nervous. "Just be ready to get us out of here." "I'll be ready." I walked fast to the front door of Sidney's house, looking around. My hands shook so badly I could hardly put the key into the lock. I finally managed to turn the key and crack the door open to peek inside. Sweat dripped down my forehead, making me feel lightheaded. The door beeped as it opened, signaling the security system. It was now or never. I slipped inside, closing the door behind me, and took out my pistol. Sidney's huge, dark, quiet house was disorienting. I was so scared I wanted to back out. My feet felt glued to the wooden floor. "Sidney," Debbie called from the family room, her voice echoing. "I told you to have all your things out of this house. Why haven't you left yet?" I didn't answer. I took a deep breath and moved toward the family room. Debbie was relaxing on the couch, sipping wine, flicking through channels on the TV. She didn't even look my way. "Sidney, if you've forgotten something, get it and get out. All of your stuff needs to be out of here." I moved closer to Debbie, aiming the gun. "As a matter of fact," I said, pointing the gun at her. She jumped at the sound of my voice, her eyes wide with fear. "I have forgotten something." "Oh my God," she said, backing up and nearly tripping over the couch. "How did you get in here?" I interrupted, walking up to her and shooting her 3 times in the face and chest at point-blank range. The sound of the gunshots almost scared me to death. She died instantly, her mouth wide open. Knowing she was dead, I ran for the front door, fearing the neighbors heard the shots. As I reached for the doorknob, the front door suddenly opened. To my surprise, Sidney walked in. I stopped dead in my tracks. I thought he was on his way to Carolina for training camp. His eyes were glassy and cold, and he was giving me a stare that made me sick to my stomach. He had a gun in his hand. "Sidney, I thought you were in Carolina," I stammered. Sidney, looking like a crazed zombie, gritted his teeth and pointed his gun at me. He shot me in the heart. "Sid," was all I could say before I dropped and died.